Welcome to our Anatomy of a Scene video essay, narrated by cinematic arts students Donnan and Liam Donegan. The scene we have chosen to analyse is Burt Kavanaugh's death from the 1967 spaghetti western Death Rides a Horse. After watching his family get murdered by bandits, Bill Masita trains for over a decade to avenge them, mastering his skills with a revolver. After a previous run-in with Kavanaugh, Bill suspects that he's in fact Four Aces, one of the bandits that killed his family at the start of the film. This scene takes place around 45 minutes into the movie's runtime and acts as the first time Bill takes on one of his targets. From the very beginning of the scene, we can see an emphasis on both mise-en-scène and lighting. Actors are adorned with period-based clothing. Cowboy hats and ribbon ties are worn by gruff, older actors as they sit and play poker in a saloon. Smoke fills the air as patrons take puffs on their cigars, straddling working women in their laps. The piano player performs a number for a jeering and joyful audience of drunks. The location, the costume, the performers, the sound, every single aspect of this film communicates its genre directly to the audience, instantly defining this picture as a spaghetti western. As mentioned earlier, the lighting also plays a vital part in this scene. As you can see here, the poker table is illuminated by a singular light source being held directly above the table. Not only does this create a focus on the central characters, clearly making them distinct from the background, but it also adds symbolic depth to them as well. Notice how in this shot, Kavanaugh's eyes are shadowed, making him more sinister and ominous. If you compare this to the next shot, a close-up of our hero, Bill, we can see a clear difference in how this shot is lit. Bill's face is brighter, more open, his eyes piercing. Although some shadow still covers his face, he comes across far more direct and powerful than his shadowy opponent. Both these shots are held for around 3 to 4 seconds each, a clear editorial choice to emphasise the tension and build-up between these two characters. What follows next is a 360-degree camera spin, a camera technique allowing everyone's facial expression to be shown directly to the audience. This technique is again done to build up more and more tension in the scene. It's clear to everyone at the table that this situation may escalate to violence at any time. Lighting is again used to shadow certain characters around the table, making them look untrustworthy and dangerous.
How many?
I stand.
Here we see a return to the previous shot reverse shot technique, with close-ups on both our central characters. Although their dialogue could have easily been filmed from a wider shot such as this one, the director, Giulio Petroni, decided to return to this close-up, cutting out the rest of the saloon and putting the audience's focus directly on these two, greatly adding to the scene's rising tension.
Neither do I.
After a close zoom in on Kavanaugh's chest to emphasise the sudden reveal that he's in fact Four Aces, we then cut back to the start of the film, only this time it is presented to the audience in a different form. Instead of the straightforward original wherein we see the events as they took place, we now see the events from the perspective of young Bill. A red tint is placed over the scene to draw attention to his panicked rage. His eyes are overlaid across the scene to show that he watched in horror as it all happened. We also hear a deafening chorus of clattered instruments play over his memory, communicating his overwhelming panic and fear. With this combination of editing and sound, Petroni is able to recreate a sense of fear and panic in the flashback.
But you forgot one thing. To kill me.
The room is notably silent. The piano player and the saloon patrons have all stopped what they're doing. Not only do they have the attention of everyone in the saloon, but this silence also raises the attention of the audience as well. The following is a great example of how the combination of sound, editing and camera all comes together to create a scene in its entirety.
Piano player, hit 3 notes.
As the pianist hits his resounding 3 notes, we cut to extreme close-ups of witnesses. The cameras focus on their eyes, showing them stare in anticipation of the draw. A quick edit between several patrons, showing how many linger and wait. Another strong note hits. We see more faces, more eyes. Tension rises further in the audience as the draw gets closer and closer. Kavanagh looks down at the revolver. We see it lie just out of reach. The pianist holds off on the 3rd and final note, giving the audience time to not only soak in the tension, but to also wonder themselves what the result will be. Will Kavanagh be able to reach the gun in time? Will Bill be fast enough to get to his first? Will he exact his revenge, or will his journey be cut short? The piano and pianist himself is lit red. This final note means certain death for one of these characters. The sharp, whistling bullets fill the air, and Kavanagh is shot dead. His over-exaggerated reaction to being shot is only standard for the Western genre.
You!
More saloon guards rush Bill, all dying in some pretty ridiculous ways. This is again an example of mise en scène. The performances given by all these actors coincide with the genres, as over-the-top deaths had become somewhat of a staple during the 60s era. Another aspect to note about this scene is the way it's been edited. Rather than absolute chaos being shown through fast cuts, we're instead given a slower, more casual shootout. This editing choice again adds to the overall mise en scène of the picture. The gunfights and killings were everyday occurrences during the Old West, and I believe Petroni wanted to show that through a slower paced gunfight. One of the last shots featured in this scene is a wide shot of Lee Von Cleef's character, Ryan. This wide camera angle is used to show Ryan's importance in the scene as Bill's saviour. Notice how far away the patrons are standing. This makes his character the central focus of the camera, grabbing the audience's attention and putting it directly onto him. The same can be said for the following mid-shot. Although the director could have easily just went for a close-up on this character, he still wanted to show that Ryan demands space. His character fills the room as soon as he enters it and demands the audience's attention. Thus ends our anatomy of a scene video essay. I hope you found it informative and had fun watching it. Thank you.